Sagittarius, before we go any further, I want you to recognize that the energy surrounding your life is no longer standing still. Something immense has already begun moving toward you, and this is not the kind of statement I make for dramatic effect. There are moments when life offers meaningful opportunities, and then there are the rare moments when the entire current beneath your journey begins to shift. What I am sensing now belongs to that second category. It feels like the invisible space around you has quietly changed, long before your physical eyes can recognize why. It is similar to the subtle transformation in the air before the sky reveals what has already been unfolding beyond the horizon. Yet what approaches you is not something to fear. It is the very breakthrough your soul has been preparing to receive through every delay, every unanswered question, and every season that seemed to ask you for more patience than you believed you possessed. It carries a certainty that does not rely on chance. It carries a force that cannot be diverted, postponed, or diminished. Whether you realize it yet or not, it is already finding its way to you. The only remaining question is whether you are emotionally ready to welcome something far greater than the version of life you have gradually convinced yourself was possible. Before you continue listening, I want you to become completely honest with yourself. Close your eyes for a brief moment and notice what has quietly settled inside your heart over these past months or even years. There is a part of you that has slowly learned to survive by expecting less. It did not happen overnight. It happened so gradually that you may not have noticed the moment your hope became quieter. You never truly abandoned your dreams, but you lowered their volume. You stopped allowing yourself to fully imagine the future you once believed was inevitable because doing so began to feel dangerous. After waiting through so many uncertain chapters, believing again seemed almost reckless. Hoping too deeply felt like inviting disappointment back into your life. That reaction makes perfect sense. It was never weakness. It was never failure. It was simply the heart creating its own shelter after experiencing too many moments that looked promising only to disappear before reaching your hands. You remember those seasons? You remember believing that everything was finally aligning, only to watch the opportunity dissolve. You remember opening yourself emotionally, only to hear silence where you expected movement. You remember standing at doors that appeared ready to open and discovering they remained closed despite every effort you made. Slowly, without even recognizing the change as it unfolded, you stopped waiting with excitement and started waiting with caution. You replaced anticipation with preparation for disappointment. You convinced yourself that lowering your expectations was maturity when, in reality, it was your wounded heart trying to prevent another painful collision with hope. Yet there is something you must understand now, because this realization changes everything. That quiet resignation has never described your true destiny. It has only described the emotional condition created by your past experiences. Your exhaustion was understandable, but it was never a message about your future. Your discouragement reflected what you had lived through, not what was being prepared beyond your current view. The universe has never mistaken your temporary weariness for the final chapter of your story. In fact, what has been developing behind the scenes could not be more different from the limited future your fears have been trying to convince you to accept. What is approaching is not modest. It is not another small improvement that barely changes your circumstances. It is not another lesson disguised as another delay. It is something powerful enough to redefine the direction of your journey. Its scale is far beyond what your discouraged mind has recently allowed itself to imagine. Every moment you spent wondering whether life had forgotten you has been occurring while unseen momentum continued building in your favor. That momentum has been gathering quietly for far longer than you realize. It has continued growing regardless of your uncertainty. It has continued expanding regardless of your moments of doubt. Your fear cannot stop it. Your disappointment cannot weaken it. The years you spent waiting cannot erase it. Nothing you have endured has the authority to interrupt what is already moving toward you. So allow yourself one simple act today. Take a slow breath and loosen your grip on the belief that life must continue repeating the same patterns forever. You do not have to force complete faith immediately. You do not have to erase every fear in a single moment. All that is required is the smallest opening within your heart, a tiny space where possibility is allowed to exist again. Even the narrowest opening becomes enough for the universe to pour through with everything that has been preparing itself for this moment. Sometimes transformation begins not with certainty, but with a single decision to remain available for something greater than yesterday. Now let us look more closely at the nature of what is approaching, because the details carry just as much significance as the magnitude itself. The strongest impression arriving through your energy is that this breakthrough will catch you completely off guard. Its unexpected nature is not symbolic, it is remarkably literal. The answer you've been searching for is not traveling along the road you've been watching. Your attention has been focused on specific people, familiar situations, and opportunities you believed would eventually produce the result you desired. You have been waiting for certain conversations to finally happen, certain relationships to shift, certain decisions to be made, and certain doors you have repeatedly approached to finally welcome you inside. Some of those situations may eventually move in your favor. They are not necessarily irrelevant, but the life-changing surprise drawing closer now is emerging from an entirely different direction. It exists beyond the edge of your current expectations. This is one of the universe's most fascinating qualities. It rarely creates miracles through the route the human mind predicts. It delights in revealing possibilities that remained invisible until the exact moment they became necessary. While you have been concentrating on one entrance, another path has quietly been opening beyond your field of vision. What you believed was the only way forward was never the only way at all. The breakthrough destined for you has been taking shape through channels you have not even considered, and as that hidden path continues unfolding, you will begin to understand why every apparent delay was guiding you towards something far more extraordinary than anything you originally imagined. What makes this moment so extraordinary is not only the blessing itself, but the remarkable path it chooses to travel before it reaches you. The universe is preparing to deliver this transformation through people, circumstances, and opportunities that your conscious mind has never considered part of the equation. That is precisely why its arrival will feel so astonishing. It will seem as though reality quietly rearranged itself while you were focused somewhere else. The surprise will not come merely from receiving what you have been hoping for. It will come from witnessing the impossible way every piece somehow aligned without your intervention. Looking back, you will realize that forces beyond your understanding were weaving together connections long before you ever recognized they existed. That is why I want you to begin loosening your grip on the picture you have been carrying inside your mind. Release the belief that your breakthrough must arrive according to the plan you carefully imagined. Let go of the expectation that one particular individual must be involved, or that one familiar opportunity holds the only key to your future, or that one unresolved situation must finally change before your life can move forward. The answer you've been calling toward yourself may wear an entirely different face than the one you have been expecting. At first glance, it may appear unrelated to your deepest prayers, yet the moment it enters your life, you will recognize it with absolute certainty. You will understand that the universe answered every request you ever whispered, only in a form your imagination was never capable of predicting. That realization alone will leave you speechless, because what seemed unexpected will suddenly make every previous delay feel purposeful. As I continue tuning into this energy, I do not see a single event arriving in isolation. Instead, I see a series of interconnected developments unfolding one after another with extraordinary precision. One opening naturally creates another. That second opportunity introduces a connection that unlocks a third possibility. Each individual experience carries tremendous value on its own, yet together they form something far more powerful than any single event could accomplish independently. It is as though every piece has been waiting patiently for the others before revealing the complete picture. Perhaps you have already begun sensing subtle changes around you. Maybe you cannot identify anything concrete, yet something deep inside keeps whispering that the atmosphere surrounding your life is no longer the same. It feels almost invisible, impossible to explain with logic, but undeniably present. That quiet awareness is significant because the energy has already started shifting before the visible evidence has appeared. The strongest message coming forward now centers on your financial life, and its presence is so overwhelming within this reading that it cannot be overlooked. There is a financial transformation approaching that has the potential to permanently reshape what you believe is possible for yourself. I want to emphasize that this is not simply about receiving unexpected money or enjoying a fortunate moment. The energy points towards something much deeper. What is unfolding represents a complete reorganization of your financial foundation. Whether it manifests through your income, your resources, your investments, your professional opportunities, or your overall circumstances, the result is the same. Your financial reality establishes an entirely new standard that separates your life into two unmistakable chapters, the chapter before this change and the chapter after it. For some of you, this shift begins with an opportunity that initially appears ordinary. You may believe you are accepting something reasonable, something that seems beneficial but manageable, only to discover later that its true value extends far beyond the original presentation. As additional layers reveal themselves, you'll recognize that what you agreed to contains possibilities you never imagined were included. The figures eventually associated with your name become so much greater than your original expectations that you will find yourself pausing, checking the numbers again, wondering whether what you are seeing can actually be real. Others will experience this financial breakthrough through the resolution of something that has remained unfinished for far too long. It may involve money that has belonged to you but has not yet reached your hands. It may involve an inheritance, a settlement, an investment, or another financial matter that seemed trapped in endless delays. You have waited while decisions remained unresolved and outcomes appeared uncertain. Yet now the process finally completes itself, and when everything is finalized, the result exceeds what you believed could happen. Time has worked in your favor. Circumstances have quietly evolved behind the scenes. What once seemed stored has continued developing beyond your awareness until the moment arrives when everything owed to you reaches you fully, completely, and without question. There is another group of Sagittarius individuals for whom this financial blessing comes through an entirely fresh beginning. This opportunity simply did not exist within your reality 6 months ago. It has only become available because your personal growth has elevated you into alignment with circumstances that previously could not include you. A doorway opens toward abundance at a level you have dreamed about but never fully entered. The greatest surprise is not merely that this opportunity exists. The greatest surprise is discovering that you are the person selected to receive it, not accidentally, not by coincidence, not because someone else stepped aside. You are intentionally recognized, deliberately invited, and unmistakably chosen. That realization changes more than your bank account. It changes the way you see yourself. It changes the story you have been telling about your worth. It reminds you that there are seasons when life stops asking you to prove yourself and instead begins rewarding everything you have quietly become. Yet, the financial transformation itself is only the beginning, because its influence spreads into every other part of your existence. Financial pressure affects human beings more deeply than many people realize. It quietly shapes thoughts, emotions, relationships, physical well-being, and even the size of the dreams we allow ourselves to imagine. Constant concern about resources narrows the mind. It drains emotional resilience. It places invisible weight upon every conversation, every decision, and every future plan. It encourages survival instead of expansion. It convinces people to shrink their desires because scarcity constantly whispers that there will never be enough. When that burden finally dissolves, everything begins changing at once. Your mind becomes clearer because fear no longer occupies every available thought. Your body feels lighter because stress is no longer demanding so much of your energy each day. Your perspective widens because possibility once again becomes visible. Most importantly, your relationships begin transforming in ways that may surprise you, because when the constant pressure surrounding money disappears, you finally have the freedom to show up as the fullest version of yourself rather than the exhausted version that has simply been trying to survive. And as this new foundation settles into place, an even deeper layer of this extraordinary unfolding is preparing to reveal itself. As this transformation continues unfolding, you will begin to understand that its greatest gift extends far beyond financial security. The moment constant financial pressure releases its grip on your life, your entire system begins responding in ways you may not have expected. Your body has been carrying the invisible burden of uncertainty for longer than you realize. Every lingering worry has quietly echoed through your nervous system, filling your days with tension and your nights with restless thoughts. When that source of anxiety finally dissolves, Your health naturally begins moving toward balance again because your mind is no longer sending endless signals of survival. The weight that has lived inside your body starts lifting. Your energy becomes lighter. Your spirit begins breathing more freely. The creativity that once flowed so naturally returns because your attention is no longer trapped inside endless calculations, contingency plans, and questions about whether there will be enough. Ideas that once felt distant suddenly become accessible again. Inspiration no longer has to compete with fear. Confidence also begins expanding in remarkable ways because you stop making decisions from a place of scarcity. Instead of reacting from urgency, you begin choosing from possibility. That change alone reshapes every area of your experience. This financial blessing is not simply about accumulating resources. It is about unlocking the version of yourself that has been waiting beneath the pressure of limitation. Imagine for a moment who you become when the obstacle that has quietly dictated so many of your choices completely disappears. Imagine the dreams you finally allow yourself to pursue once survival no longer consumes your attention. That is the deeper miracle approaching you. Money becomes the doorway rather than the destination, allowing every other part of your life to expand alongside it. Yet there is another extraordinary layer to this unfolding story, and it centers on your relationships. What I continue seeing within your connection with another person carries an emotional significance that is every bit as powerful as the financial transformation already revealed. Someone is approaching a defining moment, and what this individual is preparing to do will become one of the most unforgettable surprises you have ever experienced. The impact does not depend on an extravagant display or dramatic performance. Its power comes from something far more meaningful. It arrives at exactly the moment your heart is ready to receive it. It reaches the place inside you that has quietly longed to be understood. It communicates something you have needed to hear, needed to feel, and perhaps needed to believe for much longer than you have admitted, even to yourself. This person has not remained emotionally unchanged while you were living your own journey. They've been confronting their own fears, examining patterns that could no longer continue, facing emotions they once tried to avoid, and wrestling with decisions they delayed for far too long. Somewhere along that private path, something shifted within them. Clarity finally replaced confusion. Uncertainty gave way to conviction. They reached an inner conclusion that now naturally leads them toward you, and that decision alters the foundation of your connection in a profound way. For some Sagittarius individuals, this represents the return of someone whose presence once faded. Perhaps they walked away, became emotionally unavailable, or never fully met you where you needed them to stand. The remarkable part is not merely that they return, it is that the person returning has undergone such meaningful growth that meeting them again feels like encountering an entirely new version of someone whose history you already carry in your heart. The work they have done is genuine. It is reflected in their actions rather than empty promises. You recognize it in the consistency of their behavior, in the honesty of their words, in the steadiness of their presence, and in the unmistakable sincerity with which they now approach you. Others will witness this transformation through someone who has remained in their lives all along. Instead of a return, it is a revelation. A mask finally falls away. Feelings that remained hidden are expressed openly. Hesitation gives way to courage. Silence becomes conversation. Words that have been waiting beneath the surface finally find their voice. In many ways, this kind of transformation feels even more astonishing because you believed you already understood the nature of the relationship. You placed it into a familiar category within your mind and your heart, believing you knew its limits and its future. What unfolds now completely reshapes that understanding, revealing possibilities that never seemed available before. The conversation connected to this moment becomes unforgettable. Whether it takes place face-to-face, through a message, or through both forms of communication, it remains with you long afterward because it is rooted in complete honesty. There is no performance. There is no manipulation. There is only vulnerable truth offered directly from one heart to another. That kind of honesty possesses a quiet strength no carefully rehearsed speech can imitate. Long before your mind fully processes every sentence, your heart already recognizes the authenticity behind them. That recognition creates a feeling unlike anything you have previously experienced within this connection. Alongside those words comes an invitation. Something meaningful is placed before you. A new chapter is proposed. A deeper level of commitment, closeness, or intentional partnership becomes possible. The relationship naturally reaches a point where remaining exactly as it has been is no longer the path forward. You are invited to choose whether you are willing to step into something richer than what currently exists. The answer cannot come from fear. It cannot be based on obligation or outside expectations. It must rise from the deepest and most truthful place inside your own spirit. As I continue following this energy, one truth becomes unmistakably clear. Deep down, you already know what your heart desires. That knowing has lived within you much longer than you have been willing to acknowledge. This invitation simply gives you permission to stop hiding from your own truth, to stop protecting yourself against the possibility of genuine happiness, and to finally speak aloud the answer your soul has quietly carried all along. If you are sensed that an important conversation has been waiting between you and someone significant, if you have felt unspoken emotions lingering quietly beneath every interaction, that intuition deserves your attention because it is pointing towards something real. Beyond relationships, another remarkable development begins revealing itself, one that speaks directly to your purpose and the path your life was always meant to follow. The energy surrounding this part of the reading carries extraordinary intensity because it aligns with the deepest reason you are here. An opportunity is approaching that fits your gifts with astonishing precision. This is not a vague resemblance or a distant connection requiring imagination to understand. It aligns directly with your natural abilities, your lived experiences, your personal journey, and every lesson that has quietly prepared you for this exact moment. It feels as though the opportunity itself was created with complete awareness of who you are, everything you have survived, and everything you are capable of contributing. The remarkable surprise is not simply that such an opportunity exists, it is that it finds you instead of requiring endless pursuit. You have not necessarily followed every traditional strategy people recommend for attracting success. Instead, you have remained devoted to something even more powerful. You have continued becoming yourself, quietly, consistently, and without demanding recognition. You have chosen authenticity over performance. That authenticity has become a signal reaching farther than you realize. It has drawn toward you opportunities that resonate with the truth of your character rather than with an image you tried to create. I continue seeing new possibilities opening throughout your professional or creative world. Pathways become visible that previously seemed non-existent. Individuals who possess influence, resources, or meaningful opportunities begin noticing your presence from entirely new perspectives. Conversations start because others reach toward you first instead of you carrying the responsibility of initiating every connection. There is a profound difference between constantly searching to be seen and suddenly realizing you are the one being sought. After spending so much time believing every step forward required relentless effort, this experience brings extraordinary validation. It reminds you that genuine alignment often accomplishes what endless striving never could. There is another truth you deserve to hear regarding this unfolding purpose, because it explains why everything has been happening exactly as it has. While you believed little was changing, the universe was quietly preparing the ground beneath your future. Your reputation has been growing in places you have never visited. Your name has entered conversations among people you have not yet met. The value you carry has been recognized within circles that are only now becoming ready to welcome you. Then comes the unforgettable moment when those doors finally open. You step into spaces that once seemed distant, only to discover that your arrival was expected long before you appeared. Realizing that others already know your work, your character, or your contribution becomes one of the most affirming experiences of your life, because it confirms that unseen preparation was happening all along. For those of you who possess creative talents, entrepreneurial dreams, healing gifts, or wisdom you have been sharing only within a limited audience, another extraordinary expansion appears. What you have been offering quietly begins reaching a far larger platform. Your voice carries farther. Your work touches more lives. Your contribution is amplified in ways that allow people far beyond your current circle to experience what you bring. The response from this wider audience becomes deeply revealing, because it reflects back something you have struggled to recognize within yourself. Being so close to your own gifts has made it difficult to measure their true value. Others now become the mirror that allows you to see clearly what has been present within you all along. You possess something genuinely uncommon, something meaningful, something capable of serving the world in ways even you have not fully understood. And as this next chapter continues unfolding, you will begin witnessing just how far that gift was always meant to travel. What makes this unfolding so remarkable is that it has never been only about blessing your life. It has also been about ensuring that the unique gifts you carry finally reach the people they were always intended to touch. The universe is not simply placing something extraordinary into your hands. It is opening a pathway through which what lives inside you can become visible to a much larger world. That is why the timing matters so deeply. Understanding why everything is arriving now rather than earlier will allow you to move through this season with greater trust, greater peace, and greater wisdom. There is a quiet law woven into the fabric of existence that reveals itself again and again throughout every meaningful transformation. It is the principle that true breakthroughs arrive only after readiness has fully matured. They do not appear the first time we pray for them. They do not necessarily arrive during the moment we believe we need them most. Instead, they emerge when every necessary piece has finally fallen into place. External opportunities matter, but they are only one part of the equation. Your beliefs must also be prepared. Your heart must have healed enough to receive without fear. Your spirit must have expanded enough to carry greater responsibility without becoming overwhelmed. Your character must be capable of protecting what is entrusted to you so that the blessing becomes lasting rather than temporary. Sagittarius, this is where you now stand. Everything you have lived through during these past months and years has quietly been shaping that readiness. Every disappointment strengthened your endurance. Every lesson refined your perspective. Every season of healing increased your emotional capacity. Every quiet moment of self-reflection brought you closer to the fullest expression of who you truly are. None of that work was wasted. Every challenge enlarged your ability to hold a future that would have been too heavy for an earlier version of yourself. The life approaching you requires exactly the person you have become. It requires your patience, your compassion, your maturity, your resilience, and the wisdom earned through experience. The waiting was never evidence that you had been overlooked. It was never a punishment. It was never a sign that your prayers had disappeared into silence. The universe never misplaced your name, nor did it place your hopes at the bottom of some invisible list. Every delay served a purpose. Every pause created another layer of preparation. Every unanswered question quietly positioned you for an answer that could remain with you instead of slipping away before its time. That preparation has now reached completion. Your inner readiness and your outer circumstances have finally begun meeting one another. Seen and unseen conditions have aligned, not only within your own life but also within the lives of every individual whose path is destined to intersect with yours. Out of that extraordinary convergence comes the surprise moving toward you now. Financial expansion, emotional fulfillment, meaningful purpose, spiritual growth. All of these currents arrive together because they have been waiting for the same moment. They have been waiting for you to become exactly who you are today. Pause for a moment and ask yourself something important. What has this long season of waiting revealed about your own character that no shortcut ever could have taught you? What strength did you discover only because life required you to keep walking when certainty was nowhere to be found? Those answers matter because they become essential tools for everything that follows. There is another dimension of this unfolding that deserves your attention because it speaks directly to belonging. Alongside every external opportunity comes the arrival of people whose presence changes the direction of your journey. A new community is forming around you, a circle of souls whose values, energy, and vision naturally resonate with the future you are stepping into. If there have been moments when loneliness accompanied your personal growth, if you have felt misunderstood by those around you, or sensed that the people currently beside you could not fully recognize the person you were becoming, that chapter is preparing to end. The connections entering your life are not random acquaintances or temporary companions. They become essential participants in the next stage of your purpose. Each individual brings something uniquely valuable. One carries knowledge you have been searching for. Another possesses resources that complement your own gifts. Someone else contributes encouragement at exactly the moment you need it most. Their strengths fit naturally beside yours, as though every path leading each of you here had been carefully orchestrated long before your meeting. Some of these individuals grow into lifelong friends whose loyalty becomes one of the greatest blessings of your future. Others become professional partners with whom you create something neither of you could have accomplished independently. There are mentors whose wisdom shortens learning curves that otherwise might have required years of experience. There are also those who arrive seeking what only you can offer. They become students, clients, recipients, or simply people whose lives are transformed because your unique gifts reach them at exactly the right moment. Their gratitude becomes a mirror reflecting something you have struggled to believe about yourself. Through their lives, you finally recognize the value of what you carry. The insecurities that once questioned whether your contribution truly mattered begin dissolving because undeniable evidence stands before you. Your community is already gathering. Invisible connections are quietly becoming visible. Lives are moving toward one another with extraordinary precision. Discovering your true circle becomes one of the most beautiful dimensions of everything now unfolding. Yet even beyond financial transformation, meaningful relationships, purposeful opportunities, and a supportive community, there remains one final revelation that rises above them all. It is also the most intimate part of this entire message. The greatest surprise waiting for you does not ultimately come from outside your life. It comes from within your own heart. What astonishes you most is the person you discover yourself becoming. As all of this unfolds, you realize your strength extends far beyond what you previously believed possible. You recognize that you survived experiences capable of breaking many people, yet somehow your spirit continued growing instead of disappearing. The compassion born from hardship, the resilience shaped by disappointment, the wisdom earned through quiet endurance, and the courage to keep loving despite uncertainty become qualities that are not merely admirable. They become absolutely necessary for the future, now opening before you. You also begin seeing how deeply you have always been loved. Your influence has reached farther than you ever imagined because so much of it unfolded quietly, beyond your awareness. People reveal the ways your presence changed their lives. They show you how much your encouragement mattered, how your kindness remained unforgettable, how your existence filled spaces that would never have been the same without you. You discover that your place within the hearts of others has always been far more significant than you allowed yourself to believe. At the same time, another realization emerges with unmistakable clarity. You are far more capable than your fears have ever admitted. The opportunities now arriving are not too large for you. They match the person you have become. The platform expanding beneath your feet was designed for your voice. The abundance entering your life is something you can manage with wisdom and integrity. The love being offered is something you are finally able to receive with openness and return with equal depth. Nothing the universe now places before you exceeds your capacity. You are fully prepared for every invitation that follows. Perhaps the deepest realization of all is understanding that your destiny has never been accidental. Every road you traveled, even those that seemed confusing, painful, or completely disconnected from your dreams, was quietly guiding you toward this exact destination. There was no wasted season, no meaningless setback. Every success, every failure, every recovery, every difficult decision, every act of faith, every moment of persistence became part of an intricate journey whose direction only now becomes fully visible. Looking backward, you will finally understand why no other route could have brought you here. The extraordinary surprise approaching your life is undeniably magnificent. Yet the greatest miracle within this entire story has always been you. The universe recognized your value long before you learned to recognize it yourself, even during the moments when you questioned your worth, when you forgot your own light, when hope nearly slipped away completely. That truth never changed. Now the time has come for you to embrace it with complete certainty. The moment is incredibly close. Somewhere deep inside you have already begun sensing it, that quiet stirring in your chest. That subtle feeling that something meaningful is building just beyond the edge of your awareness, that gentle current of expectation surrounding your days. None of it is imaginary. your soul is responding to a reality your logical mind has not yet fully witnessed. Something extraordinary is approaching with the power to reshape your life, fulfill long-awaited purpose, and redefine what you believed possible. Open yourself completely. Allow your heart to expand beyond old limitations. Let your mind become available to possibilities greater than anything you have recently permitted yourself to imagine. Release the habit of expecting disappointment. Release the identity built around limitation. Release the emotional armor that once protected you through difficult seasons but no longer belongs in the future waiting ahead. Welcome every part of what is arriving. Welcome the financial transformation. Welcome the deeper relationships. Welcome the meaningful opportunities. Welcome the spiritual expansion. Welcome the community prepared to walk beside you. Welcome the profound discovery of your own extraordinary nature. Allow every dimension of this unfolding to reshape your life from the inside outward. Let it reveal the person you have always been beneath every layer of doubt. The universe has been preparing this chapter with immeasurable care for a very long time. Now the preparation reaches fulfillment through timing that is flawless, through love that is beyond measure, and through a precision so extraordinary that when everything finally unfolds before your eyes, every lingering question disappears. You will understand with complete certainty that you were never forgotten. You were never abandoned. You were never overlooked. Every step was leading here. Every delay carried purpose. Every season was moving you toward this destination. And now the moment you have been unknowingly preparing for has finally arrived.